Coming up on DC News Now, a fire ripping through an apartment building in Southeast. We're live with efforts from firefighters to put it out.
As heat and humidity rise on Wednesday, there will be a threat for severe weather as well. We'll time out when these stronger storms could roll through.
An apartment complex in Temple Hills facing a series of issues.
We have a road and something is living above us.
Why renters are fighting back.
And ways to save when decorating your home. Why hitting the thrift store could save you some cash.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And thank you for joining us on this Tuesday for DC News Now at 4. I'm Mark Hall.
And I'm Tosa Fakile. Developing now, heavy smoke was in the air in Southeast DC this afternoon for an apartment fire.
DC News Now's Daniel Hamburg joins us from the scene. Daniel, what are you learning?
Well, Mark and Tosin, this fire is pretty much out, although there are still some hot spots. If I take a step out of the way and we zoom in all the way to that roof line, you can still see some smoke coming out of that building. This is the Oxford Manor apartments. Now, one person had to be rescued and taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Another firefighter also taken to the hospital because of heat exhaustion. Now, you can take a look right here at the amount of smoke that was coming from this building. 2 apartment buildings were affected, we're told, and it has taken 51 apparatus units from the fire department and about 135 firefighters to fight this fire. Now, firefighters tell us that the fire was found initially on the second floor balcony and also in the roof. So they're not exactly sure where it started, but they know it started somewhere lower in the building. The fire chief telling us that he does think he heard some smoke detectors, but it's unclear how many were in the building and if there was a sprinkler system. We also talked with one woman who actually helped other people evacuate the building to get to safety. Here's what she had to tell us.
Come down the stairs and said, there's smoke. And I look up, all this smoke was coming from up there. OMG, I saw running, knocking on people's door, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out.
And so she was able to get out with a Tim, her parakeet, her bird there. So she is thankful to be okay. She is not exactly sure her next steps. We can tell you the fire chief believes there's about 28 units in those buildings. We're not sure exactly how many people will be affected, but they are telling everyone who is affected to go to the leasing office to try to get some help there. We've seen the mayor's office here. Of course, we know the Red Cross is always involved, but that cause of the fire still yet to be determined. We're live in Southeast. Daniel Hamburg, DC News Now.
All right, Daniel, thank you. Your time is 4:02, taking a live look outside. This is towards Roslyn. And overall, generally, Mark, it was a pretty day. It felt like slightly hotter, but nothing compared to
No, it was definitely warmer, but that humidity was still tolerable.
Yes, I agree.
Let's head over to meteorologist Damon Madsen with the first look at the forecast. And Damon, not to put you to sleep, but let me tell you what I did last night. I sat outside, man.
It was nice.
There we go.
And almost talked to my neighbors, which would have been interesting. But I'm just saying, it was just a nice night. And then today, you know, a little warmer. But again, as long as that humidity stays low, we'll be okay.
Exactly. I'm sure you'll get there one day, Mark. The conversation will happen. But I like what Mark just said right there, folks. Tolerable. That is a very good word to describe the conditions today. Yes, we have those temperatures that boosted up into the lower 90s. That's where we're at this hour from the Shenandoah Valley back across Virginia, Maryland, D.C., sitting at 92 degrees. So pretty typical heat for late June standards. We're usually in the upper 80s at this point. But again, the humidity has remained extremely low. So it's been warm, maybe even hot for some, but comfortable because we're not dealing with that mugginess. That trend will continue. We'll have a fair amount of high clouds filtering out the evening remaining sunshine as we go through the end of the day here. Temperatures will cool off a little bit, but we are going to start to pull in more warm air, and we're going to bring back that humidity tonight as we gear up for a very sweltering day on Wednesday. But it's not just the heat and humidity returning that we are watching here going into the day tomorrow. We're more concerned about this, folks. The heat and humidity will interact with an incoming cold front to produce scattered, likely severe storms throughout your Wednesday afternoon and evening. We'll time out when these storms could roll across the DMV and what impacts they might bring. That's all coming up. And a look at your full forecast here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, looking forward to it. Well, right now, some renters in Prince George's County are pushing back against what they're calling poor living conditions.
DC News Now's Randy Bass caught up with the tenants in Temple Hills today. Randy, some of them are facing eviction.
Yeah, tenants here at Heather Hill say more than 100 renters here were served with eviction notices and summons to appear in court today in Prince George's County. But some of those renters we talked to say the Heather Hill apartment complex won't see a dime until major repairs are made. They get rid of rodents and the complex fixes air conditioning in several units facing problems right now. Those tenants today joining forces with local organization CASA to shed light on problems here at Heather Hill. Some renters telling us they haven't had air conditioning for days or even weeks. Some units getting as warm as 87 degrees inside over the weekend. Other tenants sending us videos of water leaking from the ceiling, photos of dusty, dirty air vents. One father we talked to says whatever is living in his ceiling is frightening his family.
We have a rodent, something is living above our ceiling. We don't know what it is.
You hear it though.
But we can hear it crawling all day. It's scaring my kids. They're scared to go to sleep. It's just a bad situation. And I didn't think like that. And when I try to call them and talk to somebody, I can't get through. I just go through voicemail. I leave a voicemail, I send an email, I don't get a response.
Now, we did reach out to the property management company today for their side of things. They told us, quote, the legal proceedings for non-payment of rent have been temporarily suspended, and One Wall Communities remains committed to fully maintaining the residential units and common facilities at Heather Hill Apartments. The leasing office was closed earlier today when we tried to stop by and get answers ourselves. Live in Temple Hills, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
All right, Randy, thank you for that report. The emergency crews responded to reports of a possible drowning in Reston's Watermine family swimming hole. The call came in just before noon, according to the Fairfax County Parks Authority. A spokesperson for that department told DC News Now the victim was alive when they were taken to the hospital. We have limited information. The story is developing. Stay with DC News Now. We'll bring you the latest as we learn more.
Well, DC police arrested a man who they say robbed a woman after being hit while riding a scooter yesterday in Northeast. It happened on 1500 block of Maryland Avenue, and investigators say the suspect collided with the victim's car. They say the victim went to check on the suspect when they say that he demanded money for allegedly colliding with him. The suspect stole the victim's purse and left the scene on foot.
And take a look at your screen right now. DC police looking for these two men they say robbed a store on 14th Street Northwest today. Police say they broke into the store, stole merchandise, and ran away. There's a $1,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest.
Let's head over to West Virginia now, where a railroad bridge fire is causing disruptions for commuters and freight delivery in the region. The fire happened yesterday in Harpers Ferry. DC News Now Stephen Cohen shows us how people are dealing with the impacts.
The track fire on the Maryland Heights Bridge has wreaked havoc with commuter rail service.
Long-distance cyclist Doug Pfeiffer happened to be in Harpers Ferry to start his week when he encountered fire and rescue units from 5 neighboring jurisdictions converge on the historic lower town.
It was just a bunch of smoke out of the tunnel. It was black and gray. We were concerned, wondered what had happened.
By nightfall Monday, the situation was under control, but not without interruption to Tuesday commuter rail service on the Mark Line.
Martinsburg trains are laying over here at Brunswick because they obviously can't go up that way with the train tracks and all that stuff being on fire last night.
The CSX double-track main line has been shut down at Harpers Ferry, and Amtrak's Capital Limited line was canceled Tuesday. That concerns Barbara Hackle, biking to Washington, D.C. by week's end, where she hopes to board Amtrak for her ride home to Chicago.
I'm hoping that Amtrak can handle the passengers that need to get to their destinations and have something worked out, a plan, by Saturday.
As of Tuesday, Mark Rail was trying to arrange bus service for passengers affected by the rail shutdown. Officials have yet to determine the cause of the fire.
Meanwhile, restoration crews continue to make repairs to the tracks in Harpers Ferry. Reporting from Brunswick, Stephen Cohen, DC News Now.
All right, thanks to Stephen. The Dali cargo ship now in Hampton Roads, Virginia for repairs 3 months after the crash that brought down the Key Bridge. Well, the ship left the port of Baltimore yesterday morning. According to the Coast Guard, the Dali sailed under its own power, but was also helped by tugboats. Only 4 of the original 21 crew members were on board.
In the district, the council voted on the fiscal year 2025 budget today. That budget does a number of things, including restoring funds to the Pay Equity Fund for early childhood educators. That budget would restore $70 million to the Pay Equity Fund for early childhood educators, something Mayor Muriel Bowser originally had on the chopping block in her budget. It also included amendments made by Council Chair Phil Mendelssohn, restoring some of the things Mayor Bowser wanted. That includes $500,000 that will go towards RFK Stadium restoration and funding for the new correctional facility.